I wish I could say something specific right off the top of my head, but unfortunately, as you kind of alluded to a little while ago, I pretty much just work all the time right now. So,
Joining me today from Atlanta is Blair Hasty, founder and industrial design director of Crafted By. Welcome, Blair. Who are you and what do you do?
well, thanks so much for having me on. So, as you mentioned, I am Blair Hasty. I am an industrial designer. Been doing this for a little over 20 years now. Had an opportunity to kind of touch on a lot of different areas of design throughout my career, but I tend to play mostly in the tech space. But more recently, as you mentioned, I launched Crafted By, which we focus on physical product development, but we do kind of branch out into the digital and other aspects of product development as well.
Great. Blair, what shaped the way you see the world creatively when you were first getting into design?
Oh, what shaped the way I saw the world creatively?
Yeah.
That's a very tough question, but I would say I would actually challenge the question a little bit. I
Okay.
don't think that I I feel like creatives are born, not made. So there wasn't a period where I became a creative. I was
Gotcha.
shaped into the tool that I am today. Long ago, I was given direction as a young man, as very young in my life. Encouraged and told, "Hey, you're creative. You're good at drawing, and I love to take things apart, put things together." I feel like
Right.
that's a very common story. If you talk to many
Yeah.
industrial designers, you'll hear that a lot. And then, like most industrial designers, I got to school and didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I had that in the back of my mind as that is kind of my identity, my who I thought I was or could be. And then so I stumbled across industrial design as most of us do and fell in love and really just found a name for what that was. That was it wasn't it was always there. It was just
Right.
I found the moniker that matched that and was like, that's it. That's what I want to do. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about my creative journey, which again is a very common story. I hear it from designers all the time. Everything from 18 to 80-year-olds. I've heard the same story.
Absolutely. It feels very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. uh, One of the things I think we think about as creatives is a lot of times there's a particular person or somebody that may have inspired us early on or helped shift our influences. Is there anybody in your early training that kind of set a tone for you?
Oh, well, again, I think early on in my life, my both my parents were very encouraging of my artistic exploration and mine, I think, like most industrial designers, kind of took a little bit more, I don't want to say OCD, but let's say a rigid or mechanical form
Right.
factor in some way. Again, like I love to tinker with things and play with Legos and Lincoln Logs and things like that. So it wasn't just free form, let me just sketch random things all the time.
Yeah.
Um, but then later in my career, or in my school career, I had a wonderful chair professor throughout my um, uh, oh, uh, my master's program that On Sun Gwen, a wonderful Korean designer, he was actually there to kind of help push me and challenge me in ways that I really needed. But and then I think continuing on through my career, I've had quite a few other mentors and people that I've looked up to. But I think early on, those were probably some of my early influences.
Great. Great. Um, what project taught you the most, whether it was maybe not a success or maybe not really a failure, but
Yeah.
what did you learn from it?
Oh man, there's so many, been doing this for so long. I do think, and I do encourage young designers to highlight that in their portfolio. Like, what did you learn with each one of these projects? It's
Yeah,
not so much what the project looks like; it's what was the outcome. What did you take
absolutely.
away from that? For me, the biggest one was I launched my own company, my own brand a number of years ago. I was making Apple accessory products. I
Yeah,
went out and I just, I literally did everything from the sketchbook to the marketing, the literal marketing. Like, I was the
right.
face of the brand, filming myself and putting my face all over TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram every single day. And that was a huge challenge for me as somebody. And again, I think, having talked to a lot of industrial designers, most of us tend to be kind of introverts and the
Sure.
quieter type. We got into this to make things, not to build teams and systems and organizations and programs. And so, whenever possible, we like to kind of go back to that comfort zone and just bury our nose back in the CAD program or the sketchbook. So for me to
Right.
put myself out there and do that, and not only taught me just an immense volumes about uh, the design, or where design sits within a company, and how it should interface with the other parts of the company, but what do those other
Right.
parts of the company do, and kind of what is the value that design brings as a part of the whole. So, in my opinion, I kind of went into it with a different outlook and came out of it with the opinion that I think industrial design in particular, is kind of the icing on the cake in some ways. It is the nice to have, but you can still sell a cake without icing. But you can't just sell a pile of icing by itself on a plate. Nobody's gonna buy that. But
Correct. Correct.
but when you put the two together, then you have an amazing product. So you kind of need both working together. But the reason that's important is marketing is the name of the game these days. I think,
Sure.
uh, as you've probably discovered having your own podcast now, the most valuable commodity in the world at the moment seems to be people's attention. If you can
Yeah.
capture just a small smidgen of that, you're doing great.
Right.
So that was a huge lesson for me. Is just like, well, what is the value that design brings into the entire company? But without that unfair advantage in either marketing or distribution, and depending on how you want to look at it, sales. Uh, I don't think that you're going to have a fun time trying to start a company these days. The heyday of the Kickstarter in
Yeah.
2013 is kind of come and gone. It still
Right.
can be done, but your odds are much slimmer, and you probably need a much bigger budget than you think you do to actually get that off the ground, get it really going.
So is that what you now are with clients or projects that you start yourself, since Kickstarter has kind of uh, peaked and we've gone beyond that?
Mhm.
What are some of those key learnings that you may bring to either a client or a project beyond having more money?
Well, certainly, having that is key.
Yeah.
I think uh, it is important to be able to identify where the client is in that journey, in that process, where they're going, to make sure that they are on the right path and they do have the necessary um, goods to get them there.
Right.
I have actually had to tell potential clients that I just don't think they're ready. You don't have the funding, you don't have the backing. You're just not at a position to really move forward with this project, because most people are still delusional in their thinking that the idea is what matters. The
Exactly.
idea is not that important. It is
Yeah.
they're a dime a dozen. I hate to break it to anybody out there who's listening, who's thinking, "Oh, I got this great idea. I just got to, get the time to work on it." Like, nah, you got to get the funding and the execution. Really, it all comes down to the execution, and
Yeah.
and that's where I think myself and Crafted by come into the picture. Is um, if you do have an idea that you feel confident enough in, you have the financial means, the
Right.
time, and everything lined up to actually move forward with that, then we are the right team to execute on that and make it happen. We are the one-stop shop to say, "Hey, I can take this from idea all the way through to execution and beyond if needed." And I've done it. I've got the scars to prove it, and I can make it happen for you. But I want to make sure that I give all of our clients the best chance for success as we possibly can. I'm not in this to just make another portfolio piece for myself or
Right.
for the company.
Right.
I've been doing this, like I said, long enough that I've done plenty of cool projects. I got a lot of fun stuff under my belt. I'm in this for the success of the people I work for and the people I work with.
Right.
That's the best part is being able to mentor other people as well and help them succeed is has become part of my new goal. I kind of look at it and talk to other people when speaking to other design leaders out there in the community as the way I like to frame it is I don't design the widgets as much anymore, but I design the 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 tools that make the
Right.
widgets. So
Right.
that is the systems and the processes and the people. I get to design, the factory that makes the cool stuff. So it is still design in a sense. It's just a fun little mental trick I play to still you know, believe that I'm still designing instead of just doing, all the other types of tasks that I end up having to do these days.
Well, you're talking about kind of pushing design upstream into the system and kind of beyond just the execution or the aesthetics.
Mhm,
And it feels a little bit of a good bridge of something you highlighted in your spotlight topic. And you talked about how it's design is a lot of times treated as an add-on.
yes.
And um, from your experience, what does it look like when you have a client or a somebody comes to you that becomes more of a strategic partner in design?
Mhm. Oh, great question. I do think, you're absolutely right. It is, unfortunately, it has you know, I like to say, and the same company that taught the world to value design is right now kind of teaching the world not to value design as much, unfortunately. Uh, and I think that's a shame. I d- I feel like we need to work a little bit harder to really sell that value back into our clients, into our
Right.
stakeholders. Unfortunately, what used to be implicit and just assumed the value was just assumed that people would come to us and say, "Hey, we need this. We have to have this." It's now becoming harder and harder. Yeah, not as many people, especially in the economic climate we have today, where things are getting a little tighter and tougher.
Yeah.
We are having to go out and sell that value and push it harder and harder. So selling it upstream looks more like being a strategic partner within either a company or to your clients. So going out and helping define who the customers are, what their needs are, how you're going to solve those needs together. And I think that's the really important part is working together with again your clients and your stakeholders as much as possible to incorporate uh, the different kinds of thinking. Because again, marketing is a massive component.
Right.
I'm a huge proponent of going out there and meeting with and building relationships with these partners as much as possible to understand their viewpoint, and then work together to help define those things at the same time, so that you have a product that's working in tandem with your
Right.
marketing, not fighting each other or pulling in opposite directions.
So do you kind of view this more as uh, where this would start is from leadership, process, or trust, or kind of a combo of all three?
Oh, definitely a couple. I think it's definitely all three. Certainly, trust is a huge part of that, I think, but that only comes after you've done the other stuff. So,
Right.
trust isn't something you can, build up ahead of time. It's something you can only earn as you do the process and prove out that you can, think in a more strategic fashion. And I think that
Yeah.
the days of, being the lone designer that just sits in your cubby in the corner and just, runs the CAD or the
Yeah.
sketchbook is kind of coming to an end. We have to start working more further upstream and downstream. And unfortunately, a lot of designers, they see the need to go downstream, but have yet to start working upstream as much, from my opinion, from what I've seen so far. And I think that that's actually more crucial a lot of times than the other way around. Like, we have to define
Right.
those project parameters, again, like who's the customer and what are their needs and how do we define what those things are? Like, those are all very important
Yeah.
questions that we need to work together to try to work with leadership and the other stakeholders within the company to try to understand and define as early as possible.
Yeah. It kind of brings to mind you're talking about designers not just being a tool that's part of the system, but
Yeah.
really affecting more of the system because the tools get upgraded and replaced.
Yes. Well, if your only value is a tool, then you're a commodity, and
Uh,
it will come down to, how can we get somebody cheaper? And you will be probably underpriced somewhere in the world.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
we have very much democratized, every part of the company these days, and made it where you could easily outsource things to any other, part of the world, really. So,
Right.
we've, in a lot of ways, opened it up to, so that our competition is no longer local in any specific
Yeah.
way. We are competing in some sense with the entire world, which I hate to say, propose it like that. Unfortunately, say compete, because I really don't like the idea that we're competing as designers with each other. I think uh, the more conversations that we can have amongst each other, the more interaction we can have, and the more notes that we could share with each other, the better that we all get at understanding how to sell the value of design to our stakeholders and clients and customers. There's more than enough of them out there for all of
Yeah.
us, but we have to raise the bar across the entire industry and stop looking at each other as competition, and rather partners that I just haven't worked with yet.
I think a lot of cases we're not really competing very much with other designers, but
Mm.
with those that are not designers but may have access to tools.
Yes, and that's I think and I think that was a good way to allude to the AI, stuff coming up in the world.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest that's the one that everybody's gonna go to first, of course, is,
Sure.
well, now anybody that has access to the internet can produce their own concepts and their own renderings. Any product manager or, CEO or marketing manager, whoever it is, and that's true.
Yeah.
And but the same is true of all of their jobs too. I can produce a product plan now. I can produce a
Right.
marketing plan. I can produce a business plan using the same tools, but we're not. And
Yeah.
so I do think that you were never paying a designer to push the pencil or the mouse. You were paying them for their discretion and their ability to look at all of the criteria involved in the project and make the right decisions based on that. So all we've done is just make it a little bit easier for us to produce those early form concepts and iterations.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I don't think if anything, it's just going to further separate those who have always done the work that way versus the ones who
Yeah.
were just doing the bare minimum and thinking, oh,
Right.
design is the tool.
Yeah.
Well, if that's what you think it is, then your job is probably not going to be around a whole lot longer.
Well, we're really trained to have that filter and make good decisions based on both our training, our experience, all the
Right.
things that come from the career, not the tool.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Uh, So, Blair, what is inspiring you right now outside of design?
Oof. Uh, I wish I could say something specific right off the top of my head, but unfortunately, as you kind of alluded to a little while ago, I pretty much just work all the time right now. So I
Yeah.
don't have much of a chance to be inspired so much. Well, I mean, I do. I still get a chance to do things. I mean, you know, outside of my work life, I have a wonderful wife and daughter. Uh, that's my inspiration for my motivation and inspiration for doing everything that I do. Um, and then outside of that, I just am passionate about what I do. I love everything about product design. It again, it was one of those things where when I saw it that oh, I can remember exactly the day when I toured the school and discovered that and was like, "That's it." It's just
Right.
like it's like that, yeah, that falling in love moment, that hit
Yeah.
by Cupid's arrow kind of moment of, "Oh, that's the thing. That's what I wanna do. Oh." There was not a question
Truly.
anymore. It was like, "I love this thing," and it's never really died down, which is amazing because I do, like most designers and, uh uh, people similar to us, I tend to have the odd hobby and things that come and go throughout my life, but the design part of it has never ceased to be fun or interesting to me. I do, and then I do things like I think all of us have periods in our either in our lives and our careers where we're doing less of the creative work.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
right now I'm doing a lot more outreach and emails and putting together decks and everything else. Very less so of the design work than I'd like, but I think we always, you know, as creatives, we'll find an outlet for that. Mine tends to be cooking. I cook just about every night. I love it. It's a great outlet for me to just sometimes, just go see what we've got and just throw it in and see what I can make out of it. Uh, so
That's kind of a great creative outlet that it still kind of wraps in our, maybe how we think as designers and creatives, but not at a uh, produced product end. It's more of something that we can share and enjoy and then move on from that experience.
That's a great point, actually, because I do think, to go back to my earlier point about designers needing to raise the bar and bring awareness to the value the design brings. I think, again, having those conversations amongst ourselves is key, but also just putting yourself out there is
Right.
absolutely key to that as well. Most designers, going back to that introverted nature, that's not their comfort zone. You know uh, they don't want to do it most of the time. I didn't want to do it. I still don't love to do it. I force myself to. My ambition is greater than my discomfort. So I think that pushing yourself outside of that is great, but the where that comes into play, uh, according with what you just mentioned, is unfortunately a lot of what we do is very thought out. So
Right.
from a
Right.
design perspective, I
Yeah.
have, months, if not week or sorry, years sometimes to fully design a product. And so every decision, every little element of that design has been thought out 100 different ways. So if you can, you ask me about any part of that, I can give you an a reason why it is that way and why it has to be
Mm.
that way. Uh, but you can't have that same level of uh, thought and assuredness going into things like social media or heck, just even a conversation.
Right.
You have to be able to put yourself out there without that and be vulnerable. And most designers aren't. We don't like that feeling of, oh, I could be looked down upon or somebody could judge me because I haven't thought this all the way through. So going back to
Right.
what you were saying, I think the cooking aspect, maybe for me at least, has been a great way to get more comfortable with that idea of, hey, I could just slap something together real quick, put it on the table, and even if it's not the best thing, it's only one meal. I'll have another one tomorrow and
Right.
another one past that. Like you're gonna make mistakes, and sometimes my wife says, "Yeah, you put too much salt into this," and I have to kind of go, "Oh crap." Well, I'll try
I've
better.
been guilty of that myself.
Oh, I know. We're on polar opposite ends of the culinary spectrum. I like everything super spicy and salty, and she's just bland. I'm like, okay, I'll do what I can.
Do we need to edit that out, Blair?
Her her flavor profile is bland. Maybe
There we
that's
go. There
more
we go.
bland. More tame. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's aware that I think that. But yeah, it is interesting, and I do think that cooking for others is again another kind of good analogy for what we do, but in a much quicker, you know, more loose fashion. Especially if you can get to the
Right.
point where you understand the fundamentals of cooking rather than just following a recipe, because there
Well, then
are
you're starting to explore at that point. It's more
yes,
like painting,
yeah,
it's a
well,
more expressive form of art.
again, I think it is just more like design. Like
Yeah.
every project I do, the first thing you want to do is kind of define essentially the edges of the sandbox that you get to play in. Like
Exactly.
what are the boundaries? I need to know kind of like what is acceptable from the customer standpoint, from the company standpoint. And then once I have those parameters, then I can start to think, okay, now how can I push and pull and move these things around to come up with something unique or interesting. So yeah, I think that's where design and cooking are very similar. And then, like you said, painting, I know there's a lot of designers tend to have very similar outlets outside of design because,
Sure.
you're going to just have periods where you're not able to get it out. But I feel like it's something that at least I feel like it's all designers, but it's just part of who you are and you're going to have to get it out.
Yeah.
It's just one of, was what makes us who we are.
Right. Blair, I wanted to touch a little bit on to something we discussed a little earlier was your visibility and saying that you're kind of initially more of an introvert type and you've
Yes.
put yourself out there, especially on LinkedIn, some other platforms. You're very intentional about using those spaces to provoke conversation.
Mhm.
Um, what drives you to consistently do that and put yourself out there?
Again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, it's ambition over comfort level. I can override that when I need to. If there's something on the other side of that discomfort that I need, I don't care. I will push through it. It's just a matter of motivation, and I know not everybody is like that necessarily right off the bat. Or maybe it comes more difficult to some people. I would encourage you to do it. Put yourself out there. It is not as scary as you think. I'm sure you've gone through the same thing. Starting a
Absolutely.
podcast, and what helped me to get over that again was going through the motions with the other company a few years ago, where I was given some great advice by a number of wonderful entrepreneurs and coaches and people that I knew of throughout my career when starting that company, who just were fairly adamant about taking on all the responsibilities of that company, even though they were very explicit in saying like, I know you could outsource some of these things. That's not the
Sure.
point. The point is that you need to learn it so that one day, if this works, that and you do get to hire that person, that the head of marketing or the product manager or whatever logistics person, that you understand what their job entails. You might not be like perfect at it. You might not have every bit of
Right.
information, but you at least know enough that you can make an educated decision on who to hire and what the responsibilities should be.
Yeah.
So okay, once you get used to posting your face all over every other social media channel for months, if not years, daily, then putting an opinion out there every day on LinkedIn feels like a cakewalk by
Right.
comparison.
Right.
It's
Uh,
it's nothing.
you get to understand what is required for proficiency, so
Mhm.
then you can hire for
Yes,
efficiency in that sense.
100%. And then, uh, and just like, just about anything really, I think most things, social media and, under, the best way to do it is to not try to come up with the perfect plan and then execute. It is to just start doing it, and I'm sure you probably heard. I think there's a story or an analogy somewhere about the professor who split his class in half and said, "Okay, I want this half of the class to focus on making just one pot, the perfect pot. You have the entire semester to make one pot, but you can only to make the one." And then the other half, like your job is to make as many pots as you possibly can. And of course, subjectively by the end of the story, the part of the class that had produced more pots, of course, was better at it. They had produced, one of the many hundreds that they had produced was probably a far superior product
For
than
Yep.
the other side of the class because they had learned from just doing over and over and over. So every time you do it, you learn another little lesson.
Yeah.
So the best way to do it is just to start. You're going to screw up. You're going to make bad content. You're going to have people say you're stupid or, not really. Like honestly, I would say the industrial design community, at least in particular, and that's mainly who my audience is, probably, yours as well, are just phenomenally generous, wonderful people. I've had, uh, oh gosh, I started doing outreach early last year in preparation for, launching my agency and just knowing that I needed to start doing more networking and building an audience. So between personal outreach, mentorship, I started
Right.
doing meetups here in Atlanta, like I'm going to do right after this. And then just for the odd conversation like this, I probably talked to somewhere close to 400 designers in the past year. So I could tell you almost you know verbatim what makes an industrial designer and what makes them tick, how they work. I could probably point one on walking down the sidewalk, and just say, "Yep, that's one." Um, and so, it's but yeah, they're just, they're great people, and that's where I think a lot of people who are, um, reticent of trying to, dip their toes in that water. Okay, they're in the back of their mind, their biggest concern is being judged and being, looked down upon by somebody that they perceive as having more
Right.
seniority than them. I've talked to people that have far more seniority than me, and I am not at all, uh, you know, uh, concerned about having any of those conversations anymore. I think they're just people just like the rest of us. Usually people who just, got, they are talented, but they got really lucky. And if they don't acknowledge that luck was a huge factor in that, then they're lying to themselves. Because that's just part of life is right place, right time. And yeah, you have to bring the talent to match that moment. But so many other people could have done that. But yes, I think um you know, keeping that in mind, I would definitely again encourage people, the design community, go out there, start posting more because and start commenting, start having
Yeah.
conversations because I have literally built meeting places and community places online and in person for this community for these people. and it is like pulling teeth to get them to come out of that comfort zone, just to, not go home and sit on the couch, but to come out to a meeting, or to actually
Right.
post their thoughts in a forum online. And so I know if they're not doing it in those communities, then they're sitting in the boardrooms across the world,
Right.
silently watching the meetings happen instead of raising their hand and saying, "Hey, I've got an idea. How about we try this?" Or, "Hey, why don't we? Here's some cool things I've been thinking of."
It you're touching on a lot of using your skills and efforts for also community building, which
Mm.
is one of those things that I think we innately kind of see ourselves as this is our master of our own domain. And, but that level of community building is what gets us in front of people that otherwise we would never have any interaction with. And we find out, like you said, they are just people too.
Oh
They're
yeah,
not,
wonderful
they're
people.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they're just people, and yes, uh, I've given up any you know illusion that anybody that's rich or famous or powerful is anything other than mostly just again, right place, right time. They are,
Yeah.
it's not that they're not talented or intelligent, but they're just people like the rest of us who, they're doing the best they can to make things happen and make things work. And they've got, they might have built up a great degree of experience in that area, since then. But that's not to say you couldn't, take somebody else, put them in the same position, and build them up in the same way, and they would
Right.
do the exact same, do just as well.
Um, Blair, where do you think design is most needed over the next decade? And are there areas that you feel are presently underserved?
Definitely, and I think, yeah, it's a great lesson for the future designers of the world, who I've had a lot of conversations with. I mentor at several of the local universities. I've got a student that I mentor full time. We've got a year-long mentorship through a great organization, by the way. I hate to do a plug, but if anybody's looking to do any
Absolutely.
kind of mentorship work, there's an organization called Set Fire Foundation. It's Set Fire, and it's just pushed together into one word. But yeah, it's a new organization. The person running it reached out to me last year about doing a mentorship. He had a student. They couldn't find a mentor. I agreed to do it, and had a great time discussing it. The benefits to me are, uh, the more I talk about my processes and thinking and get it out of my head and externalize that, the more I can process it and analyze it and really understand it. And so,
Right.
I built these things up over decades now, and I don't even know that I'm doing some of it sometimes. I'm just kinda going through and like, "Okay, yeah, I gotta do da, 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 da." So, when I'm forced to slow down and then, again, externalize it, I have to analyze it then and go, "Oh, okay, that's interesting that I'm doing that or this." Um, so, to break back into your question, the thing that I think that I'm seeing as the future of design, and also the biggest lack in younger designers right now, which is kind of weird and sad at the same time, that many of them have grown up in how do you say, a digital lifestyle, in a
Sure.
their lives are attached to their phone. I have a 16-year-old daughter. I know what it's like. She doesn't feel the need to even go out a lot of the times and go see friends, because why would you
Right.
need to? They're all right here. I have them all the time.
Yeah.
That I can talk to anybody. I can FaceTime them. I can message them on 20 different platforms. I could send them any thought, any image I want, which is vastly different than obviously the way probably you and I grew up. And so
Truly.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to make any assumptions, but you've got enough gray in your beard that I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you didn't grow up with
Absolutely.
um, but yeah, but yeah, I think the reason that that's important is that they're very reluctant to talk to other people. because of that. Much more so than previous generations, just to have a conversation. I have talked to many
Right.
students who I've said, well, what kind of research did you do for your project? And that's all they'll say. Oh well, I asked ChatGPT how people would feel about this, or I just went online and found some stuff in a blog or whatever it is. Um, and yet yeah, none of them are going out and talking to real people and saying, how do you
Sure.
use this? Why do you like it? How much did you pay for it? Where do you put it when you're not using it? All those fun, just dive into their lifestyle conversations that I think are so important. And with the as you pointed out earlier, the rise of AI and becoming more and more of our tool set replacement for a lot of what we've done in the past. And I think it will
Right.
continue to do that. I think that if anybody has played around with a lot of these early image generation models, they're phenomenal. And I think that the days of us, tweaking, key shot rendering, for instance, for days on end is maybe coming to a close.
Right.
Uh, so if there's less value being placed on that skill set level, I think that the value that can't be replaced by a machine or anything else is that human contact. Like the thing that I don't think AI is ever going to be able to take over is the ability to sit in front of a person, have a real conversation, read their reactions, and understand exactly what it is that, how they feel about a thing, and then put all of those pieces together, say, okay, well, they said this, but what I really was getting was this. Because,
Right. Right.
machine will just hear the words, not the inflection or the posture and all the other cues that go along with that. So I think our ability um, to understand the customer, the user, and incorporate that data into a design that's usable and sellable is the future of design. And a lot of them are treating it like that's the throwaway part. Like I keep trying to tell them, you got to do this. This is the only thing that will be left down the road because the rendering and the sketching that can probably be at least a good part of it might be handled by AI in some form or fashion. Like you would, I think, again, your discretion, your ability to look at that and decide which
Yes, of
ones
course.
are more applicable are going to be what you're going to be paid to do. But pushing the pencil and or the mouse, maybe not as much. So that's where I think the future of design is headed. Is um, the thing that makes us the most valuable was never kind of what we talked about earlier was not our ability, is not our artistic ability as much as our empathy. That's what's more important is the ability to understand and read the cues and really feel what the end user is after and make those decisions based on a lot of those cues.
It's literally our humanity infused in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we will be bringing to the table down the road. And honestly, I think that that puts us in a much better position than many other professions, and that we at least do still own that humanity component.
Right.
Like that was always built into our what we do. It was always the most important. We just as a profession got too obsessed with the tools. We've gotten
Yep.
obsessed with the ability to sketch the perfect sketch or the ability to make the perfect rendering, the most
Yeah.
realistic looking thing. And those are great, nice to have, super important. But you know, if I can pay a tool, you know, $10 a month to do the same thing, then I don't really,
Yeah.
that it's not the most valuable thing that you can be bringing to the table.
Exactly. Exactly. Blair, thank you so much for joining me. This has been great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time and answering some questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Max. This has been a ton of fun. Always happy to do it if you ever want to jump on another call.
Great. Thank you. Have a great one.